Hi guys! This year I managed to grow some big transplants. This is mainly thanks to following a planting calendar for my zone. You can find a link to the calendar that I used below the video. I will also share some more tips that worked for me. My gardening zone is 5B. The last frost date for my zone is May 9th. I started by sowing poppy seeds in mid-February. The technique I used is called winter sowing. This was the first time I tried it and I really liked it. I'd like to use it for most of my flowers in the future. I used rotisserie chicken containers and made a few holes at the bottom for drainage. Then I filled it with potting soil. You need a nice thick layer. I ended up filling it up to the full tray's height. Water and cover with a lid that has a few holes for ventilation. You can just leave it out and forget about it for some time. This week I'm starting with some peppers, eggplant and marjoram. I'm going to let the seeds sprout first on a damp paper towel. This is a very economical way where you don't waste any seeds because there is no need to thin them out later. It will also prevent having empty pots in which seedlings fail to germinate. Once the seeds sprout, transfer them into a container with potting soil. Make sure to label your plants. I am going to use a seed starting mix for my herbs as their seeds are very tiny. Seed starting mix has no fertilizer in it. This helps stretch the young roots in order to get food. It is loose and crumbly for the roots to spread well. It is sterilized so the seedlings will be free from diseases. I am starting the seeds over a vent to keep them warm. After only 4 days, my marjoram has sprouted. Once we have the first leaves, or cotyledons, let's transplant the seedlings into a pot. I have bought 6 of these planters for under $2. They are about 4 inches in diameter. This time we have filled the pots with a potting soil.
You can't eat that. Yeah, but we can eat fish.
Always touch the leaves and not the stem or roots. Do not pull the seedlings if their roots are stuck in the paper or they might break. You can tear the paper instead. I am using simple plastic trays from pastry to hold the pots. I will be watering the plants from below. When you water from the bottom up, the roots get stronger because they're always growing directly down toward the moisture. For the herbs in the starting mix, I will use fertilized water once they have their first true leaves. This week I'm starting tomatoes, basil, cabbage and kale seeds. These beefsteak tomato seeds are 7 years old, so I'm not sure how well they're going to germinate. Beefsteak or cherry tomatoes belong to a group of tomatoes called indeterminate. They give a steady supply of fruit over the season as they ripen in stages. They are vines and can grow up to 6 feet and taller. The other tomato that I'm planting is a plum tomato, which is determinate. It is good for making tomato sauce. All their fruit will ripen at once. These are more bushy and shorter than the indeterminate. The germination rate for the 7-year-old beefsteak tomatoes was very good. They were stored in a basement where it's cool, so it looks like I will have a lot of tomato plants this year. The soil on the marjoram is looking very soggy, almost moldy. I had been watering a little too much and it's not been very warm these last few days. So I emptied all the trays and hoping the soil will dry up with the help of a fan. New seedlings are especially vulnerable to a disease called damping off. It's a fungus that enters the young seedlings from the soil, causing the seedlings to die, often within days. I had lost my marjoram plant in the end as I didn't start using the fan in time. Placing a fan near the seedlings will ensure good air movement and keep the surface of the soil dry. In addition to helping prevent disease, the constant air movement will help develop stronger, sturdier seedlings. I kept the fan running for about 2 hours a day every now and then. This week I'm starting Swiss chard and lettuce indoors. I will plant radish, spinach and peas outdoors. It is still quite cold outside, so let's see how it goes. Swiss chard seeds have a red coating on them. They are about 2 years old and I had a hard time trying to get them to germinate this year. Then I learned that pelleting shortens the lifespan of the seed, so don't rely on them for future use. I'm excited to start planting outdoors so early in the season. I noticed the ground was still frozen in some parts when I was planting peas, so I stopped planting in the frozen areas and added some leaves as cover.
Whoa, I got something on my hand.
There was frost last night. Temperature went to -7 degrees Celsius, so maybe I should have waited longer. The weather has picked up, so this week I'll be planting carrots and dill outside. To my surprise, the radishes sprouted this week. I put my cabbages and kales outside this week to harden off. Hardening off seedlings is important to improve successful transplants. It is the process of gradually introducing seedlings started indoors to the outdoor harsher conditions. On day 1, choose a warm sunny day, but place the pots out in full shade, bringing them back inside at night. On day 2, place the seedlings in dappled shade with some exposure to direct sunshine, but bring them back inside for the night. On day 3, allow the seedlings increased exposure to direct sunlight for several hours and leave them out overnight. On day 4, transplant. This week I'll be starting summer squash, watermelon, cucumber and cantaloupe indoors. This is the last week of starting seeds indoors for me. I will be transplanting the cabbages. I covered them with a mesh screen right away to protect them from insects. Parsley has a long taproot, so I'm going to sow it directly into the garden. Some of the peas are starting to sprout. Some of my beefsteak tomatoes have grown quite big by now. I'm going to pot them up and bury the stem until the cotyledons. This should make the plant stronger. I also removed the lowest two branches. I transplanted basil very carefully into individual pots as it was getting bigger as well. Tomorrow we are expecting 10 centimeters of snow. I use these makeshift covers to protect the plants from cold. These are the lowest temperatures the plants that are already outside can tolerate. I added some more flowers to my outdoor winter sowing containers. I learned that even poppy seeds only need a few cold days to germinate. My salads are not looking too good. Based on the calendar, I should be planting them outside now. Transplants should have 4 to 6 mature leaves and a well-developed root system before being planted into the garden. I think next year I would grow them using the winter sowing method as they like cool temperatures and full sun outside. Let's plant some beets as well. Not all peas germinated, so I soaked some overnight and will add them to the garden. This morning I saw one of my wine tomatoes drooping. Ideally, I would like to plant them outside now where I can stake them easily. But there are still 2 weeks remaining before I plant them outside. So I will need to stake them now to prevent them from falling over. I use simple bamboo sticks. I will add a corrected calendar in the description of the video based on my experience with the seedlings this year. Next year I will wait to start my tomatoes 2 weeks later. We have some serious winds outside today. It's a good test for our tomato support we put out already. Some of the bush tomato leaves are starting to get spots. I tried adding some milk powder for calcium and Epsom salts for magnesium. Then I moved them into their final containers. I realized I won't have enough space for the bush tomatoes in my raised bed as they can take up to 3 by 3 feet. So I've used painter buckets as a workaround. I have waited 3 extra days from the last frost date for my zone to plant the herbs, since there was still a frost warning at night. start planting the warm season vegetables once the temperatures at night are over 10 degrees Celsius. My tomatoes were just too big and it made it really difficult to harden them off properly. That's why we had a few casualties of sunburn on the leaves. I have used some bone meal for each tomato as fertilizer. Since they were so tall, I wanted to bury the bottom stem to give the plant a really strong root system. I buried it horizontally and tied them to a rope with some clips. I even removed flowers to help the plant form roots better. We have a raccoon in the neighborhood, so we decided to put a mesh around the raised bed to protect the young plants from animals. This was my biggest garden project yet. Hope this was helpful. Check out the details in the video's description and please share your experience as well. Thanks for watching and see you in my next update.